check.
Thank you all for staying to the very end of the session. I appreciate it. And I'll just get started a little bit early and we'll have extra time for Q&A. I have a 5-minute quick talk, so it's going to be a little bit longer than that. Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Jayne. I am the curator at Hawaii's Coral Restoration Nursery, so I manage the husbandry team, and I'm also lead for our Rare Coral Ark program. So we've heard a lot about Florida, which is great, but let's hear a little bit about the Pacific. So I'm just going to share some of our successes that we've had in restoring corals in Hawaii from an ark, from a bank, as well as some tips for if you are looking to do the same at your institution. So just like Florida corals and other corals around the world, Hawaiian corals have their own problems. So first off, Hawaiian corals are really vulnerable because 25% of Hawaiian corals are endemic, which means they are not found anywhere else in the world. Often these species are found in one island or sometimes one bay on one island. So if something happens to them, there is no backup pool. There is nowhere else we can get these species, so they're very vulnerable to impact events. They also, watching them grow is like watching paint dry. It's like so slow. So reef building corals in Hawaii average a growth rate of 1 to 2 centimeters a year. Super, super slow. So again, if something happens to these limited populations, it's going to be really hard for them to recover naturally. So because of all of these aspects of Hawaiian corals, the Hawaii Coral Restoration Nursery set up a rare Hawaiian coral ark. So we started this in 2015 as a living seed bank, which you've heard about through other talks today. And currently we have about 51 native species in biosecure ex situ aquarium systems. And for reference, there's only about 60-ish species of hard coral in Hawaii. So far we got most of them. And the goal of these systems and this ark is to hold living coral in controlled biosecure environment, but also having the ability to use these corals to potentially restore diminished or extinct populations. And I'll get into it a little bit later of what's different about holding a coral in an aquarium and what's different about holding a coral for restoration. So one of our success stories is with the rare endemic species Parietes rudeni, or knobby finger coral. This coral is endemic to Hawaii and on the island of Oahu, where we're based. It really only grows in one bay, Kaneohe Bay. And we knew that in early 2015, NOAA was saying it's going to be a hot year, there's going to be bleaching events, other factors. So we went and we collected some fragments of some colonies in the bay. We quarantined those fragments, put them in our ark. And sure enough, in after summer 2015, we could not find a single living colony of this coral left in the bay. We asked around, hey, has anyone seen any Parietes rudeni? No? No? And so we thought, well, we might have the last of this coral in our ark. That might be it. And so luckily it did really well in our ark, and we were able to microfragment it, grow them to larger colonies, which is what you see in the upper photo. So those are little pyramids. And in 2019, as part of Coralpalooza, we were able to outplant these colonies, which is the first known reintroduction of a possibly extirpated coral species in the world that we know of. And that lower photo is about 2 years after outplant, and actually it looks even better now. So they've been doing really well despite a hot summer. We've also done this with another species, another endemic species, Montebra dilatata. This is a larger size, grown on a concrete module. And so keys for success, we know that holding corals for aquarium display is not the same as holding corals for restoration and preservation. So for example, you need to consider a lot of things such as quarantine, life support, coral processing, database. Your staff has to be trained. for example, quarantine, are you treating the coral with some medicine or a drug? Is that getting absorbed into the coral skeleton? What happens when you outplant that coral? Is that going to leach out of the skeleton? Is that going to affect other corals in the area? Also, where did you get the coral from? What were the site parameters at that location? Are you outplanting it at the same location, a different location? What are those parameters you need to acclimate to? And then species-specific requirements for holding. Are you able to hold this coral? What are its husbandry concerns? Where are you getting the coral from? Where are you putting it? All right, that was a fast talk, but I can talk more. So come see me afterwards if you'd like a handout that outlines a little bit more about differences between restoration husbandry and kind of regular aquarium husbandry. And feel free to talk to me anytime today, or I'll be here tomorrow as well. Thank you. And we actually have plenty of time for questions, so I'll take any questions. Yes, Sage. The Hawaii Coral Ark started in 2015. Right now, we're not outplanting at scale. We hope to not have to outplant at scale. We have the ability to, but right now we've just done those 2 species so far. Yeah. So we're targeting species that need it. Yeah. Thanks. Yes, in the back. Sorry, the question was if, just like terrestrial seed banks that grow out seeds, are we planning on breeding, like spawning? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, so if we have plans to look at or mimic the natural environment, and yes, so actually we have a series of tanks, and each one of those we sort into, okay, all of these corals in this tank came from a high light, high wave action environment. So we will try and match those parameters as closely as possible. But also, before we outplant anything, even with this is actually a side project of the Coral Nursery. For our regular outplants, we acclimate them back to natural conditions before they actually get placed out on the reef. Yeah, that's it. For Hawaiian corals are really sensitive, so if we don't do that, they are like, no. They will straight up just bleach and die. Thanks. Yes. Yeah, so the question is, do you see aquariums playing a role in helping preserve these corals? And the answer is yes, definitely. We actually partner with Maui Ocean Center, which is a public aquarium on Maui, and they also have a rare coral ark. So if we have specimens, we can frag those specimens, share it with them. They also share with us, and they have special aquarists who are trained to be able to take care of the corals. And similarly, here in Florida, there's a huge effort, what Beth is running and many other people, the Reef Rescue Project that involves aquariums across the country that are holding corals in specific conditions to be able to hopefully one day put them back in the wild. Yeah. Any other questions? Clint. Yeah, I think that's a great idea because, I mean, when I grew up, I was inspired by going to aquariums. That's how I got interested in marine biology. So I think aquariums and zoos can play a huge part. Um, I'm actually not sure. I think probably Beth could answer that question. One thing is that the tanks they're held in have special requirements, so not just anyone can stick their hands in there, or it can't be combined with other things. So if it's behind a pane of glass, maybe. Yeah, but I think it's a great idea. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you all for coming to this session, and that's the end of this session. So, thanks, everybody.